Welcome to today's mathematics class. For this class, we'll be looking at quadratic equation in terms of alpha and beta. Students find this part difficult in mathematics. So for this class, I'll try my best to break this down as easy as I can. Alright, let's look at yet some concepts under alpha and beta in terms of quadratic equation. Basically, alpha and beta are actually the two roots. They'll tell you if the two roots of an equation is alpha and beta, then find etc. So that's how the question comes basically. So there's some key terms, or perhaps let me say there's some key idea you need to be familiar with before you dive into quadratic equation in terms of alpha and beta. Let's now focus on how these concepts work. My very first task is that when it comes to alpha and beta concepts, using the idea of quadratic equation, your first task there is to understand the concept of sum of root and product of root. So let's start with the first one there called the sum of root. For sum of root, let's consider the first thing there called the sum of root. For sum of root, the formula is easy, right? That is, if I have two roots, let's say the two roots are alpha and beta. So the sum of the two roots becomes alpha plus beta. So I'll have alpha plus beta. And this is equal to minus b over a. Note that if two roots, alpha beta, add up together, it will give you minus b over a. I should have gone ahead to start proving this formula for you. But by the way, let's just understand the concept. So note that for sum of root alpha plus beta, I have minus b over c as my answer. Next up, let's consider what we call the product of root. Product of root. For product of root there, that becomes alpha beta because they are multiplying each other. That's equal to c over a. So note that the sum of root is alpha plus beta. That's minus b over a. While product of root is simply c over a. That's alpha beta. So I have this basic first things first to note when it comes to quadratic equation in terms of alpha and beta. Aside this one here, I'll give you like let's say 5 formulas, right, that we'll be using as long as we proceed in the study of alpha beta concept. So some useful identity, some heading please, some heading, some useful identities all right, let's look at some useful identities when it comes to alpha and beta being equal to the two roots of an equation. Number one, alpha squared plus beta squared. This is equal to alpha plus beta all squared minus 2 alpha beta. The first formula you need to note. The second one there, if I have alpha cube plus beta cube, this is equal to alpha plus beta cube minus 3 alpha beta alpha plus beta. So I have this third equation, second equation. Number 3, see, master these things please, they're very important, note them often, right? So next up, let's say I have alpha square minus beta square. This is equal to alpha minus beta into alpha plus beta. Your third equation to note, your third important identity to note. Number 4, let's say I have alpha minus beta. This is equal to the square root of alpha, the square root of alpha plus beta squared minus 4 alpha beta, right? So note this, number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And finally, let's say 5. This is square. Okay, let's say I have alpha cube. It was plus, so minus beta cube. This is equal to alpha minus beta, right, into alpha plus beta all squared minus alpha beta. So I have this fifth equation. Correct, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 important identity to note when it comes to quadratic equation in terms of alpha and beta concept. So note this identity, we use them in our solvings. All right, before we start solving past questions, right? Before we start solving past questions here, let's note some things, please. Usually, when it comes to solving problem under this concept here, your first task, if you are given a question, is to find the sum of root of that question and also the product of root of the question. Your very first task. Listen once again. When it comes to quadratic equation in terms of alpha and beta, your very first priority there is to find the sum of roots and also the product of roots of the given equation. All right, let's take some past questions and solve together to see how you can possibly evaluate those questions. Welcome back. Let's try to solve yet problems by applying what we learned initially from the foundations of how to solve problems in quadratic equation in terms of alpha beta concept, right? So the question says if alpha and beta are the roots of the equation, I have x squared plus 4x plus 3 equal to 0. I said the question says that if alpha and beta are the two roots of the equations, for those that don't know what alpha is, this is alpha and this is beta. So I'm saying that if alpha, this one, and beta, this, are the two roots of the equation, which equation exactly? This equation now says evaluate the following. So find alpha squared plus beta squared, also find alpha cube plus beta cube, also find alpha minus beta, also find alpha square minus beta square. So how do you solve this particular problem here? It's as easy as very first task here. Let's start number 1. But hold on, please. I told you initially before now that when it comes to alpha and beta concept, your very first priority is to find what? Your sum of roots and product of root. Get that thing in mind, please. When it comes to this man, very first task, get your sum of root and then your product of root. But by the way, my very first task is to analyze something, please. Let's analyze something, please. What we know is that from our general law, or perhaps general form of quadratic equation is known as ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. This is called general form of a quadratic equation. It is true. The equation given here is what? X squared plus 4x plus 3, right, equal to 0, right? Let me confirm. It was okay, it's plus, correct. All right, so here's the task. We, from this equation here, we have to get the value of a, b, and c. So of course, observe this is a. Nothing was, observe x squared. What's the number here? Of course, invisible 1. So I'm saying that a is equal to 1 from the given equation. What's b? B is what? 4. So b is what? 4 Also, what's C? C is 3. So C is what? Is 3. So your very first task when it comes to question on under alpha and beta, get your A, B, and C. When you are done, what next there? Get your sum of root and then product of root. So in the question, they said in the question initially in the question, they said if alpha and beta are the two roots. Here's the concept now. Let's get sum of root. So sum of roots, we said that becomes alpha plus beta, and as I give you that, I said is what? Minus b over a. This is now equal to minus, what's b? B is 4. That's 4 over a. What's a? That's 1. So I'm saying that therefore alpha plus beta is equal to minus 4 over 1 is what? Of course a minus 4. That's for sum of roots. Let's get product of roots. For product of roots, we said that becomes alpha beta, which is equal to that c over a. This is now equal to, what's your c? C is 3. That becomes 3 over, what's your a? Of course a is 1. That's 1. So therefore the product of roots alpha beta will be equal to 3 over 1 is of course 3. So your very first task, get A, B, and C. When you are done, get sum of root and then product of root. So that's like the first priority when it comes to solving problem under alpha and beta concepts. When you're done with this, you can now proceed to your question and start solving. Question A says what? For question A, we are asked to find the expression for alpha squared plus what? Beta squared. I gave you this one. When check your book. Check your book, right? I gave you some useful identities. Check there. You see alpha squared plus beta squared. And I gave you the value as being alpha plus beta squared minus 2 alpha beta. Can you confirm this, please? From here, this is now equal to alpha plus beta. Alpha plus beta is what? Minus 4. So I have minus 4 all squared. This square is square. Minus 2 into what's alpha beta? Alpha beta is what? 3. So I have 3 here. This is now equal to minus 4 squares, of course, 16 minus 2 times 3 is what? Of course, 6. This is now equal to 10. So my answer for question 1A is 10. This I solve this problem. For B, question B says alpha cube plus beta cube is equal to alpha plus beta all cube minus 3 alpha beta plus beta. Check your book. I gave you this expression, so note them often, right? On your head, please. From here, this is now equal to alpha plus beta, of course, that's minus 4. So I'll have minus 4 all cube minus 3 alpha beta is 3. So into 3 into alpha plus beta is of course minus 4. Alright, if I do my normal math, from here now, minus 4 cube, that should give so I'll have a negative 64 minus 64. Next up, minus 2 times 3 is 9 into minus 4. This is now equal to minus 64. Observe, minus is plus. 9 times 4, 36. 9 times 4, 36. So if I'm to combine minus 64 plus 36, so minus 64 plus 36, I'll have minus 28 as my answer. So my answer here is what? A negative 28 as my answer for question B. Let's do question C. Let's do question C. Question C and D. All right, let's do question C and D. C and D. Question C, alpha minus beta. Question C says, C, what to find alpha minus beta. And this is the square root of alpha plus beta squared minus 4 alpha beta, right? As I gave you from what we said are the most important identity, right? I gave you this. From here, this is now equal to the square root of alpha plus beta is of course negative 4. So I'll put down, open the bracket, negative 4 all squared this way minus 4 into alpha beta, we said is 3. So I'll put 3 here. I'll put 3 here. Alright. From here, proceeding from here, this is now equal to the square root of, this of course will give 16 minus 12. Right? This is now equal to the square root of 16 minus 12. That's I think 4. Right? Yes, 4. Square root of 4 is of course 2. So my answer is 2. So on evaluating alpha minus beta, my answer is 2. Finally, the last one there, which is D. So for this one here, we said our answer for this one, the expression for this, for D, is that we said for this nature, I'll have alpha plus beta into alpha minus beta. If you check your book initially, alpha minus beta comes first before alpha plus beta. But here's the concept: irrespective of how you arrange it, they are still the same thing. From the idea of commutative law of mathematics. So I can either place this plus 1 first before the negative 1, or this one first before the, so it anyhow, the one I gave initially was having alpha minus beta first before alpha plus beta. But in this case here, I chose to write this one first before the other one. Is still the same thing, please. Alright, from here, hold on. Alpha plus beta is what? That's minus 4. So I'll have minus 4 in a bracket, open a bracket. What is alpha minus beta? Observe here, it was not alpha minus beta, just alpha plus beta. Here too is just alpha beta here. But how could I get my alpha minus beta? Observe that we just said that alpha minus beta here will give us what? 2. It was 2. So I'll just put 2 here. Let's say we didn't solve for it. Let's say we didn't solve for this one initially to have 2. What do? You go and solve it on its own. So you pick out this one on its own and solve it this way. Let's assume we didn't solve for it to have 2. You have to go and pick it up on its own and solve it. So my answer was 2 here. So my answer becomes what? Minus 4 times 2. That's what? A minus 8. So my answer becomes a negative 8 after solving question D. So this is how I solve problems involving alpha and beta concept. All right, let's try one more example and I'll hop for today's class. Welcome back. Let's try to solve this final example and let's see what we get. So I know initially and very well that my very first task is to get the value of A, B, and C from the given what equation. And when I'm done, I'll have to find sum of roots and then product of roots of the equations. All right. My very first task is that I'll identify A, B, and C here. So as clear enough, my A is 1. So solution A here is 1. What's B? B is of course a negative 1, minus 1, and finally what's C? C is minus 3, minus 3. I've gotten A, B, and C. What next there? Let's get sum of root and then root of root. Alright, sum of roots, we said is of course what there? That's alpha plus beta, which is equal to what? Minus B over A. This is equal to minus, what's B? B is minus 1. Open a bracket, minus 1 as B. all over what's A? A is 1, A is 1, minus is plus, 1 over 1 is 1. So I'm saying that the sum of roots, so therefore alpha plus beta is equal to 1. Alright, that's sum of roots. Let's get the product of roots, that's alpha beta, which is equal to what? It says C over A. This is equal to, what's the C? C is minus 3. Minus 3 over, what's A? A is 1. A is 1. So I have 1. So therefore I'm saying that alpha beta, which is product of roots, is equal to what? Minus 3. So our very first tasks are done. What's the first task? Get A and B. Second task, sum of root and what? Product of root. What next now? Go and solve questions. Question A says what? Question A says alpha over beta plus beta over alpha. How do you solve this problem? It's easy as find your LCM. This is now equal to, my LCM here is alpha beta, so alpha beta is my LCM. So if alpha beta cancel beta, so beta will cancel beta, I'll have alpha. Alpha times alpha is of course alpha squared. I'm done. Plus. If alpha beta divide alpha, we know that alpha will cancel alpha, left with what? Beta. Beta times beta is of course beta squared. This is now equal to, of course, observe my numerator. Before then, observe the denominator. I have alpha beta, and we said alpha beta, which is this, is what? Minus 3. I know this one as minus 3 now, but yet I don't know the value of alpha square plus beta square. So if you observe that this one now is from our important identity I gave you, and we said for this one now I'll have to do what? Alpha plus beta squared minus 2 alpha beta as the formula I gave you for alpha square plus beta square concept. So this is the formula I gave you, all over what? I have alpha beta. At this point now, plug in your values. From here, this is now equal to alpha plus beta is of course 1. That's 1 all squared minus 2 into what's alpha beta? Minus 3. So minus 3 all over alpha beta is of course minus 3. So I have minus 3. This is now equal to 1 squared is of course 1 minus plus is plus. 2 times 3 is what? Is 6 all over minus 3. From here I'll have 7 over minus 3. By the way, this is my answer, but I can't leave my answer in this form. It's wrong. Okay, it's correct but not proper. Let me use that language. It's correct but not proper. Why do I say that? In math, you don't put negative sign at the denominator. Obviously, the denominator is having negative 3, but I can't end my answer as being negative 3 down here. So in essence, I'll put negative up. So what I'm saying in essence is that it's not proper for the denominator to be negative. So in that case now, I'll have to push negative up. That becomes minus 7 over 3. Now proper this form. That's math purely. This is my answer to this question, please. Alright, let me do B and you do C for me, and leave your answer in the comment section. Do C for me. Let's do B. For B, I have what? I have 1 over beta plus 1 plus 1 over alpha plus 1. Alright. So how do you solve this problem too? It's as easy as what? Find your LCM. By the way, why do you think I'm applying LCM here? Because in math, if you're having two fractions like this, a fraction here and a fraction here, that is a fraction here and a fraction here. So you're having two fractions, and there's either plus or minus In between them, what comes to mind? LCM. So I can see two fractions and a plus sign. What comes to mind? LCM. So either plus or minus, the task there is to find your LCM. But if it's times, you don't need to find LCM, right? So from here now, my LCM for these two becomes beta plus 1 into what there? Alpha plus 1. So if you have two uncommon terms, like for this one now, I have what? Two uncommon terms. So the 2 becomes what? The LCM. Now, divide this by this. If I divide, observe, if I divide if I divide everything here by this first one, this one will cancel this. I'll have this one left. This one times 1, I'll have alpha plus 1 left here, right? So plus. If this one cancel this, I'll have this one left. This one times 1 is simply beta plus 1. So I have this one here. Let's proceed from here. From here, what do you observe? This is now equal to, bring alpha and beta together, that becomes alpha plus beta. This one, I know the value as what? As 1 from here. So I know these two. Pick these two first. So 1 plus 1 is of course plus 2 all over. I will now apply math here. I'll expand these two brackets and see what we get. So pick out these two brackets. So pick out, if I have beta plus 1, right, into alpha plus 1, let's expand this and see. This becomes, pick out beta first into everything here, alpha plus 1, pick out plus 1 into alpha plus 1. So I have this. Beta than alpha is alpha beta plus beta times 1 is beta plus 1 times alpha is alpha plus 1 times 1 is what? Is of course 1. Rearranging, I will have alpha beta plus, this can be written as what? Alpha plus beta. This one comes before this one, next up plus 1. So on expanding these two here, I have this as my answer. So I'll write here alpha beta plus alpha plus beta, next up plus 1. Let's not get this done, please. This is now equal to alpha plus beta. We said is what? Is 1. That becomes 1 plus 2 plus this 2 all over alpha beta negative 3 minus 3 plus alpha plus beta is 1. Next up plus 1 plus 1. This is now equal to 1 plus 2 is 3 all over minus 3 plus 1 minus 2 minus 2 plus 1 minus 1. So I have minus 1. Final answer becomes minus 3. We said minus comes up. So I have minus 3 as my answer to this question. So you try doing C and leave your answer in the comment section below. I'll reply you if you are wrong or correct. So see you in the next class. To get more of my classes, please visit my website at www.ghaniabaki.com. On my website, you see lots of WAEC classes, close to 200 classes, both mathematics, chemistry, and physics. So if you're interested in watching those classes, you can easily go on my website to search for them and buy the courses, right, at easy price. So it's a lifetime course. If you buy it once, so use that course lifetime, right? You have a lifetime access to my courses. Also, if we are struggling to understand how to read, when to read, how to assimilate, and how to get things right as a student, I just launched a book called The Shortcut to Academic Success. So if you're interested in learning how this works, how you can actually achieve your goals in schools, high schools, or college, you can just check my website. The book is on the website. You can just buy the book and then you read it. So reading that book will enlighten you on how to run through your academic life. All right, see you in this class and welcome to Excellent Link Academy. Do well to join our WhatsApp channel at Excellent Link Academy. If interested, send me a DM to my WhatsApp number and then I'll add it to our WhatsApp channel. Alright, see you in the next class.